Mr. Bannon's podcast number 23, the centre lathe. Here we can see the centre lathes that we use in school, with the headstock, the chuck, the saddle, the tailstock, and you have to get familiar with all these areas to be successful in your course. So let's look at the machine and a slow walk by. Here we can see the headstock with all the buttons, control buttons and switches, the emergency stop, the on-off button. We see the 3-jaw chuck, we see the saddle which has the compound slide on it, and we can see the tailstock at the right hand side which holds drills and centre drills and running centres. Here we can see a drawing of a centre lathe, and although it looks slightly different, all the labels are the same and you will need to be familiar with most of them. We can see the gear levers in the headstock, the chuck. We can see the saddle which sits on the lathe bed. We see the saddle handle and the cross slide handle. We see the top slide and we see the tailstock and we see the tool post. So let's look a little bit closer at the headstock. Here we can see a number of buttons and switches, on-off levers and the gear, speed and feed controls for the centre lathe. These are important controls, and a good skilled turner, which is what you call someone who's skilled in using a centre lathe, will be able to manipulate these different levers to create different finishes or effects on the workpiece that's getting machined. At the right hand side of the headstock you can just make out the 3-jaw chuck. Here's a picture of the 3-jaw chuck itself, and as you can see, this has 3 almost finger-like objects that can be moved in and out to grip a workpiece. The 3-jaw chuck spins forwards or backwards depending on which way you set it on the headstock, and allows you to turn the metal, and that's where the word turning comes from. Now the 3-jaw chuck can be set to hold your material centred, which is why it's called a centre lathe, and we can use this type of chuck which is a 4-jaw chuck. Now as you can see that the arms or the fingers don't quite line up here, and the reason for this is because centre turning is all about turning through a centre line in the bar. When you go into 4 and 5-jaw chucks you can actually offset your centre line and do what's called eccentric turning. Now one of the most important tools on a centre lathe is the chuck key. This is a chuck key here, and this fits in to holes that are spaced around your chuck for gripping your material, and this allows you to wind in and out those jaws, those fingers on the chuck, and this lets you grip the material. And you have to make sure before you start the machine that the chuck key has been removed from the chuck. If you don't, you're in big trouble. Looking closer at the saddle, you can see the cross slide. You can see the saddle handle, which is a big black handle. This moves the saddle from left to right. The cross slide handle in the centre of the screen moves the compound slide on the top in and out towards the centre of the machine. This holds the tool post, which is set on a compound slide, which also has a handle at the top right hand side for moving the tool forwards and backwards, doing precision work. This is a tool post on a centre lathe. The slightly blue silver thing in the centre of the screen is a right hand knife tool, one of the cutting tools. This is set in a holder and can be adjusted to centre height of the machine, because this is centre turning. So we're all basing this information and this skill on turning through a centre line of a piece of material. But let's look at some turning tools in a bit more detail. The tools I'll show you will be held in their holders. This is a right hand knife tool. This is the view you see, or the elevation view, and you can see the angles and the profiles and the shape that are involved. The important thing to notice is that this tool isn't point sharp at the end, just at the left hand side of the bit of steel. It's rounded and it has a number of different angles on it for cutting purposes. You don't need to know these at standard grade or higher. Another view of this tool, well, if we look at it now, you'll be able to get a better idea of that rounded nose. And this is basically where the cutting happens. This is a cutting surface. You can see that there's actually two bits of material here, and there's a high carbon or tool steel brazed piece of steel put onto the actual shank of the tool itself. Your teacher will point this out to you on the board. This is a typical turning tool. If you want to separate your piece of material, then what we have is a parting off tool. Now this is a long, thin, hardened tool steel piece of metal which looks completely different from the knife tool I showed you just before. This tool is used in the process of parting off, where it moves towards the centre of the workpiece through the material, and unlike the knife tool, it has a sharpened point, but again the angles and different positions in this tool have all been machined, and the reason for that is it offers us clearance, which allows less stress on the tool, allows the tool to cut efficiently, and also allows us to create an angle that will provide a small chip so that cuttings come off the workpiece in small chips rather than big long slivers of metal which could cut you. So this is used as a parting tool to separate the workpiece. And if you wanted to create that nice crisscross effect on your metal, almost like a grip or a handle, you would use this tool. This tool is called a knurling tool, and what it is it's a flexible headed tool with two steel rollers which have angled patterns in them going in different directions. Now, unlike the two cutting tools you've just seen, the knurling tool works on a process of pressure and movement. There's very, very little cutting getting done in this process, although there is some.